चलिए अब हम बात करेंगे कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट्स फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट के एंड वी विल स्टार्ट विद कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल। वी ऑल आर अवेयर व्हाट इज कैपिटल। कैपिटल इज द अमाउंट इन्वेस्टेड इन द बिजनेस, राइट? On the basis of purpose, capital can be divided into two categories, fixed capital and working capital. What do we mean by fixed capital? The capital money, that is the fund of capital which is invested in fixed assets, is known as fixed capital. On the contrary, the capital which is kept aside for the working of the business operations is known as working capital, right? But the capital which the company raises, whether in the form of owner's fund, that is equity, or in the form of debt, does not come for free. There is a cost associated to the capital raised. So if a company is raising 1 crore, let's say 50 lakhs through equity and 50 lakhs through debt, do you think it's not going to cost anything to the company? No. The company has to pay the cost on the fund raised. And we are going to talk about cost of capital. So in capital, we have equity shares, we have preference shares, right? And in long-term debt, we talk about debentures and bonds. Today we are going to talk about cost of capital. And under that, specifically, we will be discussing cost of debt. What is debt? Debt is the borrowed fund on which a fixed amount of interest is to be paid for a stipulated period of time, and once the stipulated period of time is over, on that the company has to even return the principal back to the lender, whether the lender is an individual or an organization. But the very beautiful fact about cost of debt is the cheapest source of finance. Now you'll ask me, how come it is the cheapest source of finance? The simple explanation for the same is, let's say a company raised cost of debt at 10%. So they have borrowed debentures at 10%. But beautiful thing and beautiful aspect about cost of debt is, the cost of debt is exempted from tax. So let's say company has raised the debt at a cost of 10%. But then they are getting an exemption of taxation of 5%. So the cost comes down to 5%, and therefore cost of debt is the cheapest source of finance. Now how do we calculate the cost of debt? So if company is raising 1 crore, 50 lakhs, whatever X amount, through issuing debentures and bonds, which are the simple example of borrowed fund. I have already explained you in my previous video what is debt. Here we are going to talk about cost of debt. The calculation is very, very simple. Cost of debt is also connoted as KD. Okay? And how do we calculate? What is paid on debt? Interest is paid on debt. Why are we doing 1 minus T? T stands for tax rate. So interest into 1 minus tax rate for getting the exemption of taxation on the cost of debt, divided by B0, that is the bond value or amount received. Now how do we calculate the bond value and amount received? It is calculated very simply. If a company has issued a debenture or bond at a face value, or the face value of the bond is 100 and the company has issued it at a discount, let's say the discount is 5 rupees. So what will be the amount received? The face value is 100. Minus 5 discount, or if there is any other flotation cost, will be deducted. In the denominator, you will only write what amount you are receiving. So भले आपका डिबेंचर और बॉन्ड 100 रुपीस का था, लेकिन कंपनी के हाथ में कितना पैसा आया? कंपनी ने 100 के फेस वैल्यू के डिबेंचर को 90 रुपए पे इशू करके लिया, तो कंपनी के हाथ में सिर्फ 90 रुपए आए, राइट? So 90 will be written as the denominator, T will be the tax rate, and interest is, let's say, 10% on 1 lakh. So 10% would be the interest rate. By using this formula, you can easily calculate the cost of debt. Now the debt can be redeemable or irredeemable. Both cases can be there. So what is the other formula we use for KD, for calculation of KD? Interest into 1 minus T, as I said, cost of debt is exempted from tax, plus RV minus B0 upon N. Now what is this RV? RV is the redeemable value of debentures. Redeemable value means repayment, redemption after a particular period. 5 साल बाद, 10 साल बाद, you are going to repay the amount to the debenture holder or to the bond holder. So the redeemable value, let's say you have issued it at 90, but you are going to redeem it after 5 years at 100. So the issue price is 90, but the redeemable value is 100. B0 I just explained you is the bond value, amount received. अगर आपने discount पे issue किया है less than face value, then the bond value will be 100 minus 10, 90. If the debenture or bond is issued at more than face value, then the bond value will be more than, let's say it's 110, so the bond value will be 110. But if there is any flotation cost, if there is any discount, it has to be deducted. So RV stands for redeemable value, B0 stands for the bond value, that is the amount received. Here we are finding the average price, and here we have exactly calculated with the number of years, that is N. So very simple formula, cost of debt would be interest into 1 minus T plus redeemable value minus bond value divided by N, that is the stipulated period for which the bond is issued. The whole will be divided by the average price. And how do we calculate the average price? Redeemable value plus bond value divided by 2. That's how we calculate the cost of debt.